Hello. Today, the goal isn't really to explain an idea. I just want to break down. I don't know. I just want to brainstorm from my understanding. Maybe we could draw some conclusions. Um, it's just a form of free thinking. I understand that um, to understand these gender dynamics or whatever, um, you need more than just one perspective, and I do have a male bias to some extent, so I will try to really think about it from female perspective right now and what I've gathered, how I've understood it, and try to connect the dots and see, um, just try to understand it better. So, I just want to clarify that before that, just to help see any biases that I might have, I am someone who has been extremely maybe from childhood or how I was raised, I've been extremely cautious about any form of relationship. I've basically never experienced a real relationship, and I've truly avoided all of the ones that I could have. Um, I should say I've had a lot of opportunities to do so, but I don't know. I didn't lose my cool, and I didn't lose my, how should I say? It was never high enough in my priorities or never interesting enough to me. Like the offer was never good enough for me to actually consider it. So it was something I've never really thought about and never really pursued. So maybe I will have a lot of context missing, but um I really pay attention to these things and listen a lot to other people and what experiences they've had. So and I've thought a lot about this. So maybe that'll fill the gaps, maybe not, who knows, right? Um okay. So um from what I've observed and from interactions I've had and I've spoken to, this seems to be the current like modern Gen Z female take, right? About relationships. Don't want to deal with tantrums, or maybe millennial also, right? Too much responsibility. I'm not an incubator. Incubator. Don't need children. I want to be free. Um, that comes from they have perceived um, or maybe society has put certain responsibilities onto them. And I want to break down where I think these come from. Um, First of all, don't want to deal with tantrums. I feel like that doesn't apply to modern generation. I feel like that is boomers. Boomers are big babies. They're one of the most retarded generations. I'm sorry to say this, but I have observed this tantrum-like behavior primarily in boomers. Boomers are extremely I don't know, like entitled or something. They're very uncontrolled and emotionally they're very undeveloped, is what I have observed consistently for all boomers. Can't get a hold of their emotion, are too biased to actually confront their emotion because they think it's gay or stupid or they're too weak to even consider it. They just go through avoidance loops. Basically, all boomers fall into this category. And that's just a sign of compared to the newer generation, there's a big lag behind in development, and that is just thanks to us having better resources, better um, we have evolved a lot as a like the average person has gotten a lot smarter, I think, or has a lot more levers to pull to become smarter compared to before. Uh, the levels of competition were lower, and it allowed for this kind of naive, this very like I don't know if naive is the right word. Like treating life like a game and ignoring its rules or being not aware of its rules, right? Not understanding the consequences of actions, not even understanding the game that you're playing. This is something I find very consistent, and I feel like that is primarily older generations. And maybe what is happening here is the reaction to this is, and maybe some of this is carried over, uh, especially if someone just blindly listens to fucking advice from their ancestors or whatever, uh, or their parents. Maybe it will get protected. Um, I don't know. Generally, this isn't a downtrend, I think. And what is happening is maybe this is like a reaction that has been observed by looking at previous generations, and it's actually it's a delayed reaction to a problem that doesn't exist anymore. At least that's how I feel with this. I feel like, or at least that's my intuitive response to this is, um, maybe that is still true for some millennials. Millennials are still kind of gay. Um, I feel like for my generation that is even less true. So this is just a ghost of a problem. This is just a remnant. I don't really I don't think there's much to break down there. Generally, what I've observed, at least in my generation, guys are fairly emotionally or at least ones there's a lot of or maybe I have a bias. Maybe I've just only avoided like those really dumb guys and just really spoke to people that are emotionally developed. But generally, the trend I find is um, guys are overly trained, overly sensitive, overly compassionate, overly looking for understanding, compromise, and maybe too agreeable. I would go as far as to say that they the kind of average male experience that I have picked up on, and this is consistent, literally happened to every single guy in my friend group, is um, go into some form of relationship with a girl thinking that if you just, well, I would actually go as far as uh, there is a core issue that is more at the root of it, which is being infantile. And it doesn't really relate to this problem. I think being infantile is what really corresponds to the modern guys, not to, well, it also causes the older ones, but it, how should I say, the modern guys, they don't have this problem, but they have it in another form, if that makes sense. A different form of of being infantile. So, what I've observed is it looks something like guy goes in with the expectation that I am going to do my best and wow, this person really likes me for who I am. Whoa ho ho. And they get into Cloud 9 or whatever, their first person, and they get I don't know, they get really excited, they watched a lot of romance uh movies or anime and they're very I don't know, they're very like soft, right? And they would go on a lot of compromises, they would go and cater very hard to their partner. Um or potential partner or whatever, right? And then every single time they get completely walked over and shit on. This just happens consistently. You just get the rug pulled. You just get rug pulled so hard, right? So you try to interact with women in the most, how should I say? You try to play on good terms with them, and you just get absolutely wrecked. I've heard some Uh, really, really fucking bad stories, and that seems to be the trend, not the exception. Like it's just really disheartening to hear. To be honest, it's very uh, and they're never the same. By the way, they're never the same. They had this whole worldview of uh, romance, softness, compassion, right? And I would say that this view is infantile. I'll explain why a bit later. And what happens is they enter a relationship, and the signals they're getting from their women's is at first that is good, that is appreciated, right? And then the women starts testing the borders or slowly using their softness to see how much they can get away with, or how should I say, if you just keep this consistent and keep consistently being a good boy, uh, never doing any tantrums, what you will find is you get completely walked over. Uh, Maybe I'll go and explain why in a bit, but I feel like I want to go through these first and then explain why this is the response. I'm just saying what I have observed for now. And as a response to getting rug pulled and realizing that the world isn't this nice place and the ones that win, like to say nice guys finish last or whatever, um, the ones that are acting like this get completely destroyed, completely walked over. It completely changes who they are. Um, Speaking to these guys before and after, it's like speaking to a different person. It's like their soul has left their body. It's like they're not so smiley, not so happy anymore about life. They've just realized what shithole they're in, and they're like, "Fuck." Um, they become much more serious. They become much more down to earth, and they become much more, I don't know how to say, cold, right? It really, a part of them just dies in that moment, and it probably never comes back. I mean, there is a chance where it can come back, but for a lot of them, that's not going to come back for a really long time, right? And what is that? That's, in my opinion, that's being infantile. That's not understanding how the world works, not understanding psychology, not understanding basic configurations of people. It's this. All of them also coincidentally had this view of, but maybe I'm wrong in this, by the way. But at least this is my guess. Coincidentally, all of them had this not competitive mindset, but like they believed that they had inherent value and they were capable of being loved, and some people could actually get attached to them as people. And then after this experience, they realize it's not even about who they are as people. Who they are as people is insignificant. And that is what is the most crushing about it. It's realizing that you are not a person in eyes of women or society. Unless you have certain traits which make you a human in their eyes, right? And then you realize, well, if I'm only a human under those traits, that means I'm just a tool, right? Or at least that's what I've observed with great consistency. Um, so this is the modern version of don't want to deal with your tantrums. It's like don't want to deal with their softiness or whatever. Um, they don't appeal to my nature or whatever. Okay, I'll focus on women for now before I'll explain how those things affect guys or men. Too much responsibility. Um, by that they mean household chores, cooking, cleaning. Um, I mean those are the primary ones, right? Cooking, cleaning, and administration, let's say. Cooking, cleaning, administration. This is too much responsibility. This is unfair. Why do uh, men not need to do these things? Why am I expected to do them? That's um, something that seems reasonable actually, if you hear it. But I don't know. This is something I've thought about, and I've lived alone for well, I've lived in shared apartments for like 2 or 3 years, but alone completely, unshared, with no shared space for another 2 years. I will say this, these activities are ridiculously easy. I do not understand why this is such a big concern. I understand it's annoying if you have to do all of it or whatever. Um, I feel like this is a problem that just comes out of sheer stupidity. And I don't mean the problem out of sheer stupidity of the women. I think of both men and women. So what I mean by that, right now, for I feel like this is the like time waste traps that normies fall into. They go and they're like, oh, did you season your food? Oh, did you do the sauce? What about this recipe? Meh, meh, meh. And they do this like 2 hour cooking sessions, and I just don't understand why the fuck would you ever spend 2 hours cooking anything unless you genuinely enjoy it, at which case it's not cost if you enjoy doing it. It's a hobby, right? Either you do it for a really long time and enjoy it as a hobby, and then you don't complain that it has a high cost, or you optimize the fuck out of it. You and if you optimize the fuck out of it, cooking does not take 2 hours. It does not take 1 hour. It does not take 30 minutes of actual effort. It takes 5 minutes, and you have, if even, like, come on. I don't really understand how it's so hard. There, I don't know. Even if you look at nutritional things, it does not mean that you have to make them into these fancy recipes or whatever. Just cook the fucking base ingredients in the most simple way and eat them. That does not take 1 hour, right? So it's like 10 minutes per day cooking. Okay, whatever. I don't know. For me, this has been a non-problem. 2 minutes is 10 minutes is pretty generous, actually. If we count like washing and everything, I probably spend on average like 2 minutes. I just don't understand why this is a big deal. Unless you're extremely inefficient at it, at which case, skill issue, right? You're for some reason going out of your way to cook these really fancy things, and it takes you extremely long time. That is extremely skill issue. It's completely on you. If you are choosing to go that path, you must understand the cost it bears and be able to analyze whether you're willing to bear that cost. You can't just be like, "Oh, my car is so expensive." Oh yeah, what car did you get? Lambo. Why the fuck do you need a Lambo? Uh, it's just it's a form of being infantile, I would argue. It's It's taking something really trivial and just planning it so poorly for some reason. I don't know why people even do this. Um, I, I, I I don't know. Maybe someone could explain this to me. I can't understand this even a little bit. Cleaning, same kind of issue. Um, I feel like with cleaning, it's actually kind of the same. It's it depends to which standard you try to keep your space. I'm someone that has fairly. I just care about practical application of things. I don't really care about making everything look perfect. So I basically don't spend any time cleaning. Maybe like 15 minutes every month or some shit. But it doesn't get, I don't know, it just doesn't get crazy dirty. Like a compare, or how should I say, it doesn't get to a point where it affects my life at all. And I just place everything practically or whatever. Um, there are some people who care about the aesthetics a lot and care about everything being perfect. But again, that is your own personal preference. And if you're going to keep things up to that level, um, you need to understand that that comes with extra effort. Like, again, that just comes from, if you're, uh, okay, this is something I've seen when living in public spaces. I have my standard of cleaning, which is just practical. If it's not a problem, then you don't need to waste energy on it. Of course, for like public spaces, I try to keep uh, my impact limited and uh, clean to a slightly higher degree. Just that's just part of engaging with others, with society. What I've found is, I've lived with females for quite a few years, is they cry the most about shit being dirty, and they do like the least overall effort in terms of chores, and they always blow it out of proportion. Well, what I found is the females that I've lived in, they were always the ones responsible for stealing food. They were the ones responsible for uh, creating obstacles to use of things. I'm not saying that they were always the ones making everything dirty and shit, but if there was an obstacle to doing something, it was consistently females. And they were the ones that always find some ways of skipping their chores. For example, it was almost a cat and mouse game, always finding whoever didn't like take the trash out or whatever. Like we had split responsibilities. Those never got followed by women. Interesting why. Um, and at least the compromise that I have found is okay, that is fine. I have a fairly low standard for cleanliness, and because of that, I don't see any um, merit in trying to enforce the standard that isn't mine, right? I will keep things clean, but I won't like go out of my way to really make it perfect. I would do the functional chores or whatever, but I won't really go out of my way to make everything look perfect. And what I've found is women just focused on, at least the ones that I've lived in. Maybe I got extremely unlucky, and everyone's gonna make the argument of, oh, not all women are like this. Oof. Maybe that is true. Just show me one, and maybe I will believe you. Um, and a lot of women say like, "Oh, I'm not like this," and it is like little manipulation game or whatever. And then in the end, they are exactly like this, and they have the funniest ways of proving your point usually. This is just something I've also observed. Okay, so the point I'm kind of trying to highlight here is they amplify the amount of effort it takes to do this. This is completely trivial. And um, in my interactions with them, they just blow it out of proportion. It becomes political. Who did what? Who did this? Why did you not clean this? Oh, you're such a pig for this and this. And they really judge you and just put so much pressure and become really fucking annoying, even though you have done more objectively. And what I found is they also seem to put emphasis on minor things and bloat them out of proportion in a sense that, let's say the kitchen is relatively clean, and then they will be in good mood and clean it fully or till everything shines, right? And then when someone starts using the kitchen and it goes a little bit down from being perfect and it's still good, it's still relatively clean, it's fully functional, they get mad for uh for you, like for ruining their effort or something. And they feel like, ah, I did so much, it's underappreciated. You did nothing. Like it going from clean to spotless functionally achieves nothing. In fact, if anything, it becomes even harder to maintain, and you have created a higher standard of work that only you subscribe to. None of us have subscribed to, and um, and for some reason you have subscribed us to something that we don't have any investment in. Whatever. Maybe I'm venting about my own personal interactions. But in general, what I found is just a very again, that's also infantile if you really think about it. It's like trying to subscribe people to some responsibility and then uh neglecting and ignoring wherever you fail to deliver, and only focusing on small and far apart cases where you have delivered and just making yourself a victim and making like, ah, patriarchy is abusing me. Administration, that applies more to like married couples, I don't know, paperwork or whatever. I don't really know how that works. I'm just gonna skip this. I'm assuming that's another like type of chore, a clerical chore or something. So the point I'm saying is these things are really small and they're getting blown out of proportion. If you are a In my opinion, if this is a problem, you can reduce it and get all the functional benefits by doing less than 10 minutes worth of work per day. That is completely reasonable. That is nothing to crash out over. That is not something of high impact or significance. And 10 minutes, in my opinion, would be overkill. In 10 minutes, you will actually make everything look spotless. I don't know. Okay. I'm not an incubator. This is a reasonable one. This is another like freedom. I want to be a human. I have free will. Uh, my body, my responsibility, right? This is the kind of ideas. Um, I'm not an incubator. I feel like this one is also similar to the first one. This is a ghost of the past. I would say that there was a very strict standard or aesthetic, especially in certain cultures. Ah, a woman must do this, a woman has this responsibility. I don't feel like that is true in modern Western, um, or not true to the same degree. Um, most people don't expect children at a young age. Financially, for most people, that is not really attainable. Um, only at 30 or something. And there's so many problems with it being so late, by the way. I'm not gonna get into that right now. But this whole idea of I'm not an incubator, I'm a human, blah blah blah. I feel like this is like if you don't want to have children, yeah, don't have children. Um, and if you want to have children, this is just a non-issue. Um, oh, okay. I might actually understand what the whole problem as a whole is. But okay, so I will get to it soon. So I'm not an incubator. So you don't want the responsibility. You don't want to play this role. Okay, then don't try to get the benefits of someone who would play this role. Don't expect full-time commitment from a man. Don't expect investment from a man. Don't expect being catered to by a man as if you were going to carry his children. Because to us, this is a, how should I say, not to all men, of course. Modern men don't really care so much about kids, but this is still something that generally we see as fairly important. And um, how should I say, a woman that isn't willing to do that loses like a couple of points for long-term value. Not just a couple of points, like couple of very significant points. Like you would drop from maybe a 7 to a 5, you know? Like this might be something that might be a non-negotiable to someone, right? Because it's not even just about, oh, your body, you get to choose. Yes, but I also, let's say there's a certain lifestyle you want to have and a certain impact you would like to have in your life. Like you would want to have children, uh, because this would, increase your sense of impact on the world, which is linked with testosterone. Uh, like there's this idea going around that high testosterone strong men don't want to have children. That is taken out of context. They don't want to be around children. They want to have children. Those are not the same. Um, if you're really high testosterone, having a child is still an expression of that and is only going to reinforce it and align with it. Sitting there and changing diapers for a child isn't going to align with that. And yes, dominant men generally don't want to do that. What a surprise, right? They feel like they've got better things to do, which they probably do. Um, so, but high testosterone or not, they still would want to have children because it means leaving some form of legacy, leaving some sort of impact, and having your genes fucking spread. It's like a form of being alive, you could say, right? It's a form of um, expression onto the world, which is always going to be satisfying. And just in general, I don't know, few people seem to forget that just having children, unless you're really incompetent or really bad at it, it's just very fulfilling. It's like getting a fresh breath of life. You get a lot from having children. Like this whole idea that children don't serve a purpose, to me, is a very deep understanding, a deep misunderstanding of why we even have children. I guess I will talk about both of these points together. So this, I'm not an incubator. Okay, you don't want to be? Don't expect yourself to not get treated to the same degree, the same way how you have standards for men that are, I don't know, let's say he's not willing to, I don't know, compromise on uh something that you would want. I don't know, maybe you want him to only be with you, but you're like, well, yeah, be only with me, but I'm not going to give you children. And you're just going to, like, do you realize how unreasonable that is? Like, if I want children, and then this woman expects me to, uh, be with her, and she's not going to give me the life that I want, like, for me, it's just a losing trade. I have lost something very important to me, uh, and I've lost opportunity to get it elsewhere. Uh, because and that trade just sucks. And in that, also, I must emphasize something. A lot of men, just a lot of people in general, this is something that happens at mediocre or low levels of intelligence, are really bad of protecting their interests. They're very not aware of what they want, and because of that, they get subconsciously, they build up resentment. So let's say there is a man that wants something from you, you don't give him it, and uh, you just create a contract that is just generally not beneficial to them long term, right? And over time, this is going to eat at them, and they're going to feel like they're getting less than they would like to from engagement with you. And because of that, they will get this feeling like they're getting scammed. And that will build resentment. That you will slowly go from uh, friend to enemy. And especially if you look at trends that happen in, long-term relationships, less sex over time, less lovey-dovey, less romantic shit. It's like you're slowly withdrawing all the things that they would like to get from engagement with you. And then you are asking, why do they eventually start to grow resentful of you and start having fucking tantrums? Tantrums are a product of unresolved emotional um, debts. You only have tantrums towards people that you're uh, resentful towards. And that usually happens, or you're more prone to having those if you're resentful towards someone. And the what builds that up is if someone has treated you wrongly over a long period of time. So yeah, if I have low form of self-understanding, low form of self reflection, and I enter a relationship and I compromise on something that I didn't even realize I needed, right? Um, as I'm getting 30, like I slowly feel like my life slipping away, uh, without children or whatever, and I see that window closing, or you're getting 30, you're getting to the end of your pregnancy, um, capability, like, and, and I see that potential future that I would have wanted slipping away. Even if I don't consciously realize it, subconsciously, that is going to leave a mark. That is going to uh, hurt me. And that pain is often unresolved consciously. People are not aware of it and they neglect it for so many years. And over time, it causes them to become like this. And then you're wondering why they're always having tantrums, why they're always angry with you. It's probably because somewhere in the trade you didn't agree properly. And I'm not saying this is only the women's fault. I'm saying this is just fault of both people in general, low intelligence, low understanding of what they want, which builds up conflict and resentment, right? I'm not any children, we don't need children. Children are a bundle of joy if you really let them be. If you are neurotic and you have your sort of problems, yeah, you'll find a way to ruin anything. But generally, I think having children is like an injection of life into your life. Um, I've spoken a bunch about energy and stuff like that. I feel like having a child is it's just it's always going to be an injection of life because as we grow up, generally we lose touch with life and energy, and we just feel a little bit more and more dead inside. There is nothing that is just as powerful, or let's just say having children is a very powerful way to offset it or reinvigorate yourself, because just by raising them, by being in their company, you get so much uh, from them. And if you just accept that, then you will realize that you're actually getting really a lot from children. Uh, but if you're toxic or you're incapable of accepting those things or you oppose them, then yeah, having children is gonna create a lot of conflict, and you're probably a bad parent as well, by the way. You're going to suppress the fuck out of your child because of this conflict, and they're not gonna want to talk to you when they grow up, right? And they're gonna hate you so much. And final point, I want to be free, which kind of is the synopsis of all of these in a way. I kind of want to add some more. It's something like equal pay or something. This is something I've always seen, like, or the patriarchy, the world isn't fair. Uh, I want to be free. I think this is another really reasonable one. What they mean is actually financially free, like independent or free to make choices as you wish instead of being financially or baby trapped into staying in a certain position, right? And this is, I think this is probably the most reasonable one by far. This is the one that I think I, I, I can understand the best. It is the most, it doesn't come from some like neurotic shit, right? I think it's admirable that you want to be free, right? Except for, let's have a look at how are you oppressed? And you could look at Uh, generally, the arguments that I hear are gender pay gap and gender pay gap, and the impacts that taking on these responsibilities have on your pay or whatever. Like, if I have a children, if I have a child or anything, my career is going to take a hit, and I am going to lose some of my leverage on attaining the resource that gives me freedom. Money, right? It always comes down to money. I don't know. Let's brainstorm this. Let's actually think about this. Mm, I mean, you could look at, it depends which country you're in, because from what I've understood in America, it's pretty bad. But I feel like it's probably another one of those just infantile incompetence. Like people are just so bad at accounting and living within their means that they live beyond their means, and because of that, they sacrifice their future and need to work two jobs or some shit. Like, I feel like life is much easier if you're not stupid, like with your money. Like, how should I say? I don't know. I'm in Europe. People are complaining in Europe as well. It's like, oh, I can't afford this. I can't afford that. Like, come on. Um, if you live within your means, it's extremely affordable. I don't know. If I just look at the math, I live in Europe. That's like 300 euros per month for rent. Um, if I spend like a reasonable amount of food, probably one to 200 on top of that per month. Let's say you eat a lot, that would be 200. That would be the upper limit if you're reasonable in what you spend. You're not going to fucking restaurants all the time or some shit. And I don't know. Let's say you don't buy any designer clothes, you just buy normal clothes. You can probably spend another 300 euro per month or not per month. What the fuck? That's so much. Let's say you buy yourself one article of clothing or something every month or something, or two articles. That's probably going to be, even if you're kind of, at least in what I've spent, this is way more than I would spend personally. But let's just say it's on the upper end. This is your hobby, it's something you enjoy, right? Uh, and let's count this up. So 500, 600 per month, 600 times 12. What is that? It's like 7.2k. How hard is it to afford this? Average, or if you work minimum wage, you're making probably around 18k. Um, so you have 10k surplus. Okay, let's say you want a car and you want to pay fuel. That's probably another 100 per month or whatever on the maintenance. Um, and I'm saying you buy everything within your means. You buy a cheap car, you pay uh for like cheap fuel. You're not going like unleaded 95th percentile high octane fuel, you know? Like I think this is reasonable. Okay, it becomes 700 a month. You just get another fucking 1.2k onto this, so you get with 8.4k. That is still 10k surplus you have. And let's say you pay, I don't know, something in tax, you still have like 8 or 6k. I don't know. I just feel like this is fairly reasonable to live on. And that is considering, yes, it's not like luxury how boomers had two yachts and two houses by the time they're fucking 20 or some shit. Yeah, we don't live in that economy anymore. So don't try to live as if you're in that economy. You'll never be able to uh compete with the past because they were in a completely different environment. If you want to earn that much, or if you want to be able to live that lifestyle, yeah, you need to be like the upper percentile compared to before. Average people could do it before. Now, for you to reach that, you need to be way above average. You need to have your own business, you need to have your own, or like a very high paying job, or you need to have something going for you. Inheritance from your parents, big investment portfolio. I don't know, whatever it is, right? Um, I feel like financially, our times are not as hard if you're not a retard. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I feel like most of these come down to this. I feel like most of these are you just make things way too hard for no reason. And I'm not saying that women are guilty of this. I'm saying men and women in general. Just something people are really prone to. They play the game where in a way that they don't even have to play it. Like no one told you that you need to compete with your peers for who has the biggest, best car and the latest smartphone. That is just a form of it's a form of slavery. They have convinced you that that is what you need, and that costs so much resources disproportionate to what you're making that for you to achieve that standard, it's always going to cost excessive uh, amount of work. And if you think about what excessive amount of work to accomplish something relatively trivial, that's slavery. Uh, Basically, you are slaves to your own whatever you're getting marketed to or whatever beliefs you have about I need to get the latest smartphone. Um, and the arguments I hear here are, yeah, but isn't that an expression of freedom? I'm sorry, no. How should I say? Freedom is, and the mistake, the logical fallacy people make here is they misappropriate what freedom is. They misconstruct it to be a purely consumer consumerist ideas. They're like, there's nothing that screams freedom, such as buying a Gucci bag, blah blah blah. No, this is completely not true. Freedom is a very tangible and real thing. It is the amount of uh, leverage you have on your time and actions uh, based on the amount of work you need to put in. If you are in a situation where you need to spend your whole year slaving away for 12 hours a day to get 12 minutes of uh, rest or 12 minutes of your 12 minutes of space to do something, whatever the fuck you want to do, uh, then you are extremely oppressed, extremely enslaved. If you can spend, I don't know, 1 week and you have enough freedom for a whole year of doing whatever the fuck you want, you're clearly more free than the second person. It doesn't matter that the first person has every single Gucci bag, every single edition of the new smartphone. They are still a slave to the system. Freedom isn't measured in commercial or monetary gain. It is measured in a practical leverage on your time. And usually, at least in modern day, the biggest impact to your freedom is your own mind. It isn't the system that you exist in. It is the way that you interact with the system. The reason why you are not free is because you subscribe to so much shit, and each one of them eats up your resources, and then you don't have those resources to use as you wish. And then you're like, oh, I don't have any resources. I'm free. I'm not free. I'm stuck. Yeah, what did you use them on? You need to realize that everything you do has a cost. I'm not saying to not spend it on them, but just understand that everything that you buy, everything someone told me this really long time ago and I thought it was really profound and I still think it is. Money is freedom. So every single time you're spending any form of money, you need to understand that you're exchanging your freedom for that because time is money, money is time, time is freedom. And if you think of it in that way, then it will change how you the choices that you make, or it will allow you to at least accept some responsibility or some I guess responsibility for your own choices and accept that yes, I want to be free, uh, which means usually compromising on consumerist habits because those fucking are a massive hole to my freedom. It's like your bucket has a massive hole in it, and they're just exploiting you to keep milking your resource. Whatever. I want to be free. This is it's such a genuinely good point. It has a good intent and I'm completely on paper with it, except for the fact that you completely splash out and waste your freedom, which is why you end up being in that position in the first place. This, okay. Okay, I guess I was originally talking. This applies to both males and females, by the way. Uh, Specifically from female perspective, being in a household where the finances are controlled by one party. First of all, we don't live in boomer times anymore. Uh, Now a lot of men and women are working. Uh, if you were just to not be retarded with your money, you should be able to accumulate money. Even if you work very little and you get paid very little, you're still going to go into a surplus, which converts into freedom points. And uh, oof, if we look into how, like, if you enter a marriage or whatever, how the government supports you, um, you have way more rights than men. Uh, it is you that is going to receive government support for or alimony. Like the government is going to take your side in an event of a divorce or something. And in that sense, you have bigger rights than men, and you have more ways of attaining freedom and enslaving others to pay for your freedom. Equal pay, I think this one's very, because oof, it 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 has a fucking, it's a leading point. It assumes something that is just generally not true. And the thing that it assumes is, or the thing that it implies is, or the thing that it bluntly ignores is the gender differences in performance. Um, Look at any performative sport, look at any performative endeavor. It is always dominated by men at the very top, with very few exceptions to the rule, and the exceptions to the rule that are women that are doing it are never like standouts. Look at all the richest women in the world. How did they get their money, right? Look at any form of yeah, whatever. Look at any form of competitive environment. Why do women not compete in female esports? Why do women not compete in fucking male chess tournaments? Or like, why is it so rare for them to do so? And that it just comes down to a raw biological difference. We have more testosterone. Testosterone works for us a little bit different, and that alone accounts and creates differences in our performance. Testosterone is associated with intelligence. Um, it is associated with like physical capabilities. Um, I remember reading. I was looking into this kind of recently. I saw a study, and unless it is adjusted by height, because there seems to be some correlation between height and intelligence, women have on average 2 to 5 less IQ points than men. Um, and that is also considering that IQ is how it's measured is favorable to women. Like it benefits how should I say, like the types of things that women uh whatever, I'm not gonna go into that. Whatever. So you just need to understand, yes, if you're a female, you're at a genetic biological disadvantage that is fairly sizable, and you have other advantages that make up for it that we don't have. Um, your advantages are you're more socially you're more adaptive socially. We might have a stronger like top potential, we might have stronger intelligence, but you have a higher degree of malleability, or at least you should, unless you harden yourself and become very stubborn. At which point you're just losing your feminine advantages, and then you basically just become a man, but a reduced version of him, because you can never be a man unless you start injecting fucking steroids into your blood or something. At which point you'll still be a fucking reduced version compared to what a man could reach. And it's just a biological fact. Uh that's not even a subjective argument. So it's like whether how you feel about that doesn't matter. That's just reality. Like imagine you're like you go and train to be a boxer and then you have to face Mike Tyson. Like let alone fucking women. Most men don't want to face him. But imagine if you're a woman. Holy fuck. Like good luck beating that. The amount of steroids you'll need in your blood is gonna be crazy. And even then, like it's fucking Mike Tyson. Imagine him in his prime. Like zero chance. I just can't comprehend or fathom this ever happening. So understanding these biological differences uh, helps you understand why equal pay is uh not reasonable. Well, okay, there's two aspects to this. There is first of all the raw performance side. If we were generally the way how much you get paid is based on market, how much your skills are worth, and how much like they're able to benefit from having you is the thing that is always going to affect the bottom line of how much you get paid. For example, there is some very rare, very high technical, very difficult skill that has very high leverage for businesses. I don't know, let's say you're an experienced CEO or something that has high success rate in their companies, then yes, you are going to be very in demand and you will be able to negotiate a very high salary. That has nothing got to do with gender. That has got to do with competence. Um, if anything, there is a trend right now to go out of your, and I'm saying this as a male, and I've seen this behavior in males. They go out of their way to fucking simp, and if they see a woman that even remotely is competitive or resembles them, they put them on a pedestal. They completely like, oh my god, uh, yes, you're average compared to a man, but holy fuck, for a woman this is impressive, and we're going to overpay you. And yeah, it's this. So relative to competence, you're already probably getting overpaid just because society is less hard on you. They're looking for ways to um, how should I say? If you were to have a man and a woman of same competencies, the women will generally get like same competencies in terms of they'll have the same amount of impact. Women will generally get priority, uh, just because there's a lot of bias towards women in general in the world right now. Like there's this idea in companies of trying to hire high proportions of minorities. There's like quotas for what they reach to get some grants or something. Uh, there's an incentive to hire people within those groups, and if you see someone of equal competence, you're obviously going to hire them because you have so many incentives going for why to hire them. There is no reason to get a man of same caliber as you because he doesn't give you as many advantages. Um uh okay, so that is number one. So raw performance, you just lose. That is just a fact. You don't have the same biological makeup that allows you to compete with men. Okay, then let's forget about biology. Let's look into desire to do so. And again, this connects with testosterone. This is kind of the same point, actually. The reason, let's say you are, uh, how should I say, let's say your field does not require a high degree of testosterone to be successful in. It's a very low competence type of field, very chill, very easy field. Even with those within those fields, generally, um, you're going to be at a disadvantage again because at least compared to men. Um, why? Because, well, actually, no. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what point I was trying to make. Um, I want to outside of the biological factors, let's look at lifestyle factors, which are affected by biological factors, but it's just a different view angle on this. Um, let's say you have, like, women are more social. You're more, um, how should I say? Like, to a man, they're much more prone to this idea of work is everything, and they make it into a source of pride, and then they center their lives around that. Women are just not as prone to this kind of thought patterns. And that's okay. You get the benefits of it. You get to enjoy life without as much competition, but it also means you don't fight as hard for it. And uh, at least from when I looked at stats, the gender pay gap seemed to align also with the amount of work hours. You just fucking work less. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. It's like you expect to do less and be less performant at something and still get the same amount of result. Is that equal pay? No, it's not. Equal pay would be uh, if you were all, regardless of gender, paid based on the amount of impact you bring to the company. And what you are proposing, which is equal pay to both genders, is not equal pay because you don't bring the same level of impact for two distinct reasons: biological makeup and uh, view towards work in general. You're more carefree, you're more relaxed and social, and you take less pride in your work, which is fine. But don't expect to have the same level of compensation as someone who does, or someone who is more prone to being that. I'm not saying that all women are undriven and blah blah blah, and I'm not saying that all men are driven. I'm saying that on average we have a disposition towards that, or a greater disposition towards that, which completely justifies the changes in finances. And right now, there is no oppression in this field. I mean, maybe to some degree there are still some boomers in the industry, and maybe they're, haha, woman, whatever. But that trend is dying. That generation is dying. And in general, it's already at a point where you have pretty favorable circumstances as a woman in modern times, I would argue. So this whole point about equal pay, it's just unreasonable. If you want equal pay, you need to offer equal um impact or ability. And we're already very generous in how we measure female impact. Extremely generous. Um, Look at any kind of standout solo projects. Even if you look at something, I don't know, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're terminally online. Look at any kind of like indie game that goes viral or pops off that players just love. They're not sitting there like, oh my god, developers are women, meh, meh, meh. Like they don't even know who the developer is. They just play the game. How many of those wildly successful indie games were made by women? This is extremely competitive field with extremely high amount of leverage on your own ability. I don't know one example. I don't know one example. I'm sure there probably is one, but just if you compare the proportion of how many solo female indie game developers there are and how many solo male developers there are in a field that is extremely competence based, uh, and workload and work ethic, because to do that, even if you're not really good at it, you need to spend a lot of time. Um, the stats just speak for themselves. Like any form where free form competition and no one is deciding wages, women for some reason have so much less success than men, that the fact that the gender pay gap is so small shows that it's already getting compensated like crazy. You're in a system that favors you extremely well, and you're uh still asking for more. It's unreasonable. It's as simple as that. It's just unreasonable. And I can go into reasons why that is. I can explain why there's no like small female-only studios that are wildly successful. I can or whatever. And it's a lot got to do with how social dynamics play out, how you guys structure your whatever, what you place value into. I will maybe break that down in another video. It's just gonna be too long. Okay, so breaking down all of these. Don't want to deal with tantrums. Men are too infantile, too much responsibility. I'm not an incubator. We don't need children. I want to be free, equal pay. A lot of these are straight up either caused by your own incompetence or are straight up unreasonable. And I think all of these come down to, if we were to summarize them all, the realization I had as I was analyzing this is all of it comes down to I want to get more by doing less. Which is, at the end of the day, just a fight for power. And all you're doing is you're at every step of the way trying to inflate your stake or impact on something and undermine how much you're getting from it. Like, all of these things you're getting things from. Uh, how should I say? All of these things that you're labeling as disadvantages, you are already getting compensated for. Like, but you want to play both sides. That's kind of the main problem for why I think modern women are destined to be unhappy if they subscribe to this ideology. You want to uh you want to sell your cake to someone else, but also eat your own cake. Like you can't do both things at the same time. Either you're selling it and getting full price for it, or you're eating half of it and selling it for half price, or you're fucking eating all of it and getting no money. You can't eat all of your cake and get full price for it. Right? It's just two completely in um mutually like exclusive things. And what do I mean by that is you need to understand that you hold value to men and you hold inherent value to men. Just your company even holds some degree of value to men. But that is not enough to how you should say on a long-term basis to offset everything to a degree where you don't have to do anything and you don't have to provide anything and you can just completely get everything you want. That's just uh in an adequate that's not ever gonna work with an adequate person. That might work with some fucking simp or some shit. He's just like he just gets off on the idea of getting exploited. Yeah, maybe that will work. But you're not gonna be attracted to that type of person anyway. That's the worst part in your psychology. Uh And that person also coincidentally generally doesn't have high testosterone, doesn't have the ability to compete and get more resources. So even ones that you have high degree of control and leverage over, they're not the ones that are capable of providing all of the things that you would typically want. So it might actually even be a more optimal strategy to cater to someone that has more of those resources and get to trade for them. Except for the problem is you are expecting to how should I say, get this person who is much more competitive, and because of that, they're going to have a higher degree of how should I say, they will be less willing to compromise, and they will have things that they want. For example, imagine you're just ultra insanely successful at whatever the fuck you do, right? Um, and you marry a wife or whatever, and she's sitting there and she thinks that she's equal to you. Like it just doesn't work that way. Like for you to be equal, you need to how should I say? You need to earn that with respect. And the way you earn that, I feel like this is kind of the core of the issue. Um, you interpret things such as cooking, cleaning, administration as self-depreciating activities. They're not self-depreciating at all. Uh, maybe for boomers, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand boomers well enough. Maybe they're a lost cause in this regard, but uh, generally, whoever does these things gets, how should I say, they provide a high degree of value, and if they excel and do them effectively, then they just have value. It's just because, let's say, I will say from personal, because how am I supposed to judge for everyone else? Let's say I interact, and this is, by the way, not something I place a lot of value in. I'm actually okay. I will add my own personal take on this after. So let's say hypothetically, right? I want to have children, and I want to someone who just acts as like a support to make my life easier. Let's say I'm a ultra competitive, um ultra successful in my field person, right? To me, if like what am I looking for in a partner for it to justify me even being with them? They need to, number one, make my life easier, not harder. Uh, whichever way that is. And they need to also um treat me for what I'm worth, in a sense that imagine if I'm ultra successful, I'm ultra competitive, blah 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 blah. And then I go back to my house and you're sitting there and fucking hopping on my dick about some trivial things. Ah, you forgot to take the bin out. Meh, 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 meh. Meanwhile, I just closed like $100 million deal or some shit, right? Do you understand how strong of a disconnect with reality that is? That is just like even like, ah, I'm not gonna give you children. I'm not an incubator. It's like, okay, but I am a successful person, and I want these things. Maybe I should find myself, or maybe I should find myself someone that would be interested in actually treating me like a fucking human. Not someone that is just constantly like gaslighting and manipulating me into feeling lesser about myself and not giving me what I'm worth and trying to always haggle with me. Uh, Again, even if you're a businessman, you're probably a lot of them probably don't have intelligence to even realize that this is what is happening. But a woman tries to negotiate her value, and ah, in doing that, it undermines your own value. Like that's what negotiation is. Let's say I have bananas, right? And I'm selling them for €10, right? My weekly supply of bananas is worth €10. And what you have is a supply of peanuts. I love peanuts, right? And you're thinking, how many peanuts do I need to give to get my €10 of banana, right? Uh, and I don't know, let's say peanuts, let's say you have 1 kilogram, and your the rate for bananas, just like on a global market, 1 kg equals €10. And rate for peanuts is 1 kilogram equals €5, let's say, right? Let's say peanuts are a bit easier to farm or get than bananas, right? And you're thinking, how many peanuts do I need to give to get my 1 kilo of bananas? And if you look at objective value, you need to give 2 kilograms for it to be fair. Except for by undermining things like saying like cooking and cleaning, oh, this is not important, blah blah blah, or um, inflating how much effort it takes and saying equal pay, implying that you're capable of the same level of output, which you're not, and implying saying that you don't need children. All of those things are things that reduce your amount of peanuts you're offering, and what you try to do is justify it by manipulating the person into believing that peanuts are worth more. And the way this manifests is branded peanuts. What do I mean by that? I mean by that is yes, but I am women's. I am special. Uh, Affection from me or just getting to live with me. That is what is so important. Not what I'm doing for you. I'm a special women's, and because of that, my peanuts are worth more per kilogram. And you use that as a leverage, and you use that to basically say that 2 kg of peanuts or 1 kg of peanuts is equal to 10 euro. Even though in practice it's not. It's really not. I've explained this in a previous video where I looked at trades. It doesn't matter who is giving you it. If they're giving you uh 1 kilogram of peanuts, it's always going to be worth 5 euro. It doesn't matter if you're getting them from Elon Musk or fucking Saddam Hussein or some shit. I don't know. Like, it's still going to be 1 kilogram equals 5 euro. Just because you have this inflated ego or sense of self, or sense that you are worth a lot, or you are Gucci peanuts, that is a false, how should I say? That is pretending as if there is value somewhere where there isn't. It's a form of manipulation. And you might buy into that shit with cosmetics, like, oh my god, my branded organic coconut oil. Uh, and you buy into that, and you buy into this idea that branded peanuts are better. This is a form of delusion, or it's the same reason why you're poor, probably, because you're spending all your money not in terms of how much you're getting out of things. You're not looking at objective value of things. You're looking at this subjective, how it makes you feel. Meh, 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 meh. I bought myself some Gucci peanuts that were worth like a million times more, and they were worth fucking. But in practice, they give me exactly the same output. I've already explained this concept in detail with the Lambo versus normal car, how they can actually have the same value to you, but their price is going to be different. Um, so the problem here is trying to manipulate the value, and men also do this. Like, come on, we're also aware of this. Except for we're more prone to doing it. Not me personally, but a lot of like playboys or whatever. What do you think they're doing? They're sitting there and pretending as if they have golden bananas. And if you buy into that, then yeah, you will always realize that nobody has golden bananas. Everyone has the same bananas. There's no such thing as golden bananas. It's a scam. It's a manipulation. And after you get manipulated and cheated like this, you feel dirty and exploited. You feel like you got used because you did. And I am just highlighting how that is exactly the same thing in terms of all of these things. Or not all of these things, but a lot of these things are all about changing the balance of these scales, which in turn are used as leverage to get more bananas per peanut. Um, there was a point I wanted to get into before I got into this. I want to get more by doing less. It also kind of aligns with my previous video topic. Give everything you can give, take as little as you can take, and kill yourself. Like it creates that form of engagement with other people if you're trying to optimize your value. Um, oh yeah, I wanted to highlight this cooking, cleaning, and administration. Uh, yeah, maybe look for people that actually value this and actually want this. If you start cooking and cleaning and doing administration for someone who doesn't value this and doesn't care, like me, I personally don't care. I honestly don't care. I've lived alone for a really long time. I spend so little amount of time that the amount of perceived value that I get by having someone cooking clean uh, for me is like almost zero. You will never win my approval by doing those things. You might as well not do them. You need to understand that it varies person to person. To me, it's not important. To someone else, it might be, right? And uh, like I don't know, someone might live in a region where peanuts are very accessible, so to them, peanuts might be worth 1 euro, like me. Or someone who is in a region where peanuts are not accessible, and to them, peanuts might have way higher value, right? So you need to understand what real value it has to someone and look on a individual basis and build your relations that way, not trying to fucking manipulate them into like what I experienced when I was living with women is they would try to gaslight you and push their value of what they did or the value that they want you to believe onto you. Like, I don't care if something is perfectly shiny and or whatever, right? And then someone saying because I am shiny or I I put in so much effort to clean it so that it's shiny, my perceived value on it is like 1 euro, and they're saying that it's 10 euro. And then they get mad at me when I argue, no, to me it's 1 euro. I am completely in my right to decide what has value to me. And if you want to determine or if you want to create uh, good trades, you need to not manipulate my values. You need to um, work with them and see if there's a positive trade. And if there isn't a positive trade, then you don't need to sit there and gaslight me into believing that there is one. Because in the end, it will always get unraveled over a long time and it will build a lot of resentment because one of us will get scammed. Maybe it will take you way more effort to give me what I would want. Uh, and this is a real thing, like on a personal level. I'm someone who values a lot what? I really like intelligent people. I really like pursuing truth and understanding things better and better. Let's say you're someone who isn't particularly intellectual or interesting in that regard, and to you, for you to just keep up with me across the years, it's going to take tremendous amount of effort. And if you were to like lie to yourself and pretend to match this mold, the amount of effort it's going to take you isn't going to be worth the amount of value you're going to offer to me. Because if you're not generally interested to this, you'll never be able to keep up with me. You'll never be able to keep up and offer me anything of interest to me. So find yourself someone else that might be interested in. On the other hand, if you are interested, send me a message. Hello? Just kidding. uh, but you get the idea, right? Like, if there is, instead of trying to change the person you're with, just find someone who values the things that you value and has the things that you value, or wants the things that you are able to give, and has the things that you value. I don't know, just basic fucking building relationships with anyone. This is not even like romantic relationships with literally anyone. It's always needs to be based on these principles if you want it to last. Um, and men also are guilty of this. Maybe I'll make another video explaining in which ways men also cheat theirs. I feel like fundamental problem is such. People are weak, and what weak people try to do as their survival strategy is claim as if they are strong. Chihuahua bark like big dog. And any attempt to do that is always a form of manipulation, and any form of manipulation creates depth in the system. Whenever you're acting as if you're giving someone a more value than they're actually getting, they might buy your life for some time. They might accept that manipulation. But on a subconscious level, they are slowly going in depth, or there's depth being grown, and that will grow tensions and hostility towards you, uh, whether they intend to or not. And any attempt to force or project your values onto someone will ultimately fail in the long run. It's like imagine if I were I don't know, there's bread that we're splitting and it's worth, I don't know, there's 4,000 calories worth of bread, and let's assume that both you and this person need 2,000 calories, right? And you're slowly cheesing them every single day, and you're giving them, I don't know, 1.6k, right? And you're taking 2.4k for yourself, you fat fuck, right? And you're slowly cheating them. Across 10 years, there's going to be a physiological difference between you two. He's going to see you gain weight as he is struggling to maintain weight. And even if he doesn't realize that you're cheating him, over time, seeing this person like get filled out because of the excess and you struggle is going to build unconscious resentment. And that is where all your conflict is going to come from. Maybe that's actually why. Maybe this is another thing actually. Maybe there is some biological resentment here. I don't know. Maybe the reason why whatever, I don't want to get into this right now. Maybe another day. Is there anything that I've missed that is like obvious? I haven't actually touched on the point that I wanted to talk about. Why I don't like the nuclear family model. I just don't think it works. This whole idea that one man, one woman under a small house living together, um, uh, is ideal. It just, it doesn't resonate with me personally in terms of what I get in terms of values. First of all, there's the hormonal aspect of it, which is, I don't know, just being around women for too long just compromises on a lot of things as a man. It's not even necessarily, I don't know, mm, I don't know how to put it. It's like your way of thinking, the way it affects us on long term, just being around you. I mean, maybe this is cultural thing. Maybe I just haven't met a woman that has positive effect on me. But generally, like this thought patterns that you go through, the kind of takes that you have, all of them are generally like even if you go hormonal, like if you were to be a very high testosterone person and you were to go and spend time with someone who's low testosterone, what does that create? That creates an environment where there is prohibited aggression. Like you're not allowed to resolve things directly in an aggressive manner. And just uh trying to accommodate for someone else's fragility or whatever, emotional or physical or whatever, is a form of suppression. And basically just being trapped in a small space with very, very low testosterone people. I'm not just saying women, even men, if they're really low testosterone or very low, if they basically act like women. And that is always going to have a very negative effect on my self because it will, for me to coexist without fucking eating them alive or compromising on myself, I will need to compromise on myself to exist within them to avoid hurting them, which is fine in if that is limited and restricted. Uh, I, 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 I'm okay with spending some time with women and being and playing by those rules, but if I need to be there 24/7 and always accommodate that, holy fuck, that is going to destroy my sense of self, and that is going to compromise on my potential, which will make me more docile, less masculine. So extended periods. Uh, this is also kind of the same reason why high testosterone men don't like being around children. It doesn't mean that they don't love their children. They just don't like being around their children because it's a very suppressive, very limiting factor. And biologically, as women, you will not understand this. This is just a core biological difference. Um, to us, it's um, I don't. I already made the points. I don't need to reiterate them. So why don't I like nuclear family model? I generally believe that schools should be split by gender. This helps avoid a lot of issues. Um, Households should be split by gender. Um, I think the kind of models that actually make sense is like extremely tribal ones, or at least draw inspiration from those, where all the men go out and hunt and spend time in their collective, or something like Spartans, right? They predominantly spend time in a male collective, or even Japanese samurai had this culture. This is a consistent thing across different uh, periods of history and different continents with cultures that are so far apart. Uh, this Japanese samurai, they believed that how should I say, being around women, even having sex with women, made you more feminine. And if you wanted to be strong, you needed to avoid contact with women, and that's why they were gay as fuck. They went maybe a little bit too far. They would go as far as to have sex with men instead of women because yeah, I don't know how that works to be honest, but uh, they went pretty far in avoiding that. That was like an actual thing. Look it up. Spartans, Greeks, like tribal societies generally also do this thing. Women have their own collective and they share their own women things, and men have their collective and they do their men things. And the good thing about this kind of system is you get to be who you're genetically predisposed to be. For example, the issue with the fair pay. It's a really unfair system towards women on a biological level, not on a systemic level. Uh, how do you solve that problem? You just don't make women compete with men. That's why in sports you have female brackets and male brackets. And uh, just having women compete with men is just unfair. It's just biologically unfair. So, how do we solve these issues? We separate them to a point where women don't need to compete with men, and men don't need to accommodate the biology of women. They don't need to stay around them for a very long time. And that's where you get the best of both worlds. You can still have your relations or whatever, monogamous or hypergamous. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't think that's important. But um, there needs to be a certain degree of space because fundamentally, uh, trying to mix the two together, it just it just ends up compromising on both. It ends up compromising on safety of women, and it ends up compromising on the competitiveness of men. And if you do that, then both of you are gonna end up unhappy. It's just a simple biological thing. Again, just to reiterate, I'm not saying that, oh my god, women are inferior, get back to the kitchen, blah 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 blah. I'm saying that women shouldn't compete with men due to distinct biological reasons. And they should form uh, okay, they should group with like-minded people. Uh, Keep their surroundings feminine. And men should avoid being in female surroundings because that also destroys their biology. and it we are a lot more prone to manipulation than women are. This is something we are weak to, right? And we are if a man was to constantly get into the state of society, what happens is women can't compete with men because of testosterone shit, and men get fucking gaslit by women because you're masters at this shit and masters of manipulation. And in this environment, both groups end up uh, getting hurt. What do I propose? What is my solution to this? Obviously, going back to tribal fucking uh, or Greek or fucking early Japanese culture is not really an option. I'm not saying to do that. Uh, in modern reality, what does that look like? That means men or women don't live together. They live in separate apartments, separate flats. That might be difficult financially, but not really, to be honest. I don't think that's out of reach. And I guess the question becomes who supports who, or how does that work? Um, I'm not sure. It depends. It depends on what the woman wants, to be honest. If she wants to be, um, if she's unwilling to compromise on some things, um, then it doesn't actually make sense for the man to support her. Like, what the fuck is the woman offering for you to support her? Like, and I, I'm saying that you could still have interaction or love or whatever without needing to enter these like fucking slave like, oh, you have to fit this role, oh, you have to become a factory worker, oh, you have to become a dish cleaner. Completely not. Like you can still live your own lives and share some moments. The moment you try to move in, I think that crumbles. Then uh, everyone tries to force their life onto the other, and that's kind of where you get to the man saying that his banana is worth 100 euro, and the woman saying that her peanuts are worth 10 euro, and they're both lying and trying to manipulate each other, and nobody wins, and then over time you get divorced or some shit. And that's why divorce rates are so high, by the way. So my answer to that is a man do what he want to do, he exists in his space, and women do what she want to do, and they exchange purely based on what each party is willing to wants to take and the other party is wanting to give. For example, let's say um, I will give myself as an example. I'm someone who I don't put a lot of significance into this. Uh, and if I was in an exchange, it will still be worth something. It won't be worth a lot. I will evaluate it as 5 minutes worth of effort. And if you go like beyond that and you go overkill and you super clean everything, I will probably not care, and I won't gaslight myself into believing that it's something important. But I don't know. I don't know what. Maybe I will enjoy your company, or but then you should also enjoy mine. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. This is something I've been thinking a lot about. I don't have an answer on about. Like women are attracted to very independent men that are very successful. I just don't understand what a woman could offer to such a man. Of course, you could say, oh, love, blah, blah, blah. But love is a form of infatuation that is short term, and over time, it will become weaker unless it is backed by a profitable exchange. So love will grow stronger if you have a mutually beneficial exchange and just every time you interact, both of you gain and wow, my love is only growing stronger because every single time I press this button, uh, a button being like interaction with someone, then my life becomes better. So yeah, I'm gonna keep pressing this button for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna look elsewhere, right? That would be just logical um, to do so. If you have like short-term love, but every single time you press the button and proceeding with this interaction, you're always losing, 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 losing. Over time, those feelings will erode and fade, and you'll see past and be like, holy fuck, this is toxic. So it needs to be a profitable exchange. And in my case, I've thought a little bit about that, and the answer I've come to personally is it's not my problem to figure out what someone could offer me because each person is so wildly different. Each person is so has their different strengths and different um things that they like doing. That what's the point of me sitting here and predetermining what I would want from someone? You know what I mean? It's like, let's say someone cooks for me or something. Um, Generally that is something I put very low value into, right? But what if someone cooks really, really good? That might change how I value it, right? Um, or the way they do it or something, or the way they present it or something. All of those things will change its value, and it's not my problem. It's not my job to find uh ways in which other person could offer something to me. That is on them. It is also my job to find ways in which I can offer. And if what I'm offering isn't what they are interested in, then it's dead on arrival. Like it's never going to work in the first place. For example, what traits do I personally have? I am uh maybe based on the fact that I've just had a fucking how long almost 2 hour long explanation on this. I'm very passionate about understanding or trying to understand things and explain things. I guess you could say I'm nerd or some shit, right? And I place a lot of value in that, and I'm capable of offering extreme value in that. I've done coaching or whatever, and I generally see really good results. Uh, some people will appreciate this and want this, and some people won't, right? And it's not my problem to cater to someone that doesn't want what I can offer. Let's say there is some women that uh, might have something that I want, but she's interested in a completely different type of resource that I might not have, right? So I definitely have intelligence, I definitely have um, a drive or whatever right now. Um, I have energy or whatever, right? And if there's a woman that is just like not attracted to those things, she like a thing I don't have a lot of right now yet is money. I don't have money. I don't have another thing I don't really have is I'm not a very social person. I don't like speaking to fucking normies. And if that is something that you want or that they want, I should not uh, get into a trade with them because I will not be able to offer them something that they want ever. Because that's not something that I'm interested in providing. It's not something that I would like to. I wouldn't just fucking go and reconfigure my life to uh, fit what someone else wants from me. That is going to destroy your sense of self. That is going to kill your enjoyment from life. And the problem with previous generations and where all of this resentment has come from is people trying to override themselves to fit the needs of others. You don't need to do that. That is stupid boomer takes. And if you look at boomers, all of them are fucking unhappy. Unless they got really lucky, which is relatively rare. Uh, so all of the real leverage happens in selection and or not negotiating, but yeah, I guess yeah, negotiating a profitable deal or a profitable exchange. And each person uniquely can offer certain things, and don't try to change people or manipulate them into valuing certain things. Just work with what they have. For example, some women might appreciate me for what I offer, and some might not, and that's okay. That says nothing about my value. Value is local and interpreted. It's subjective. And again, there are some women that I don't know are really good at cleaning, and some men might appreciate this, but I probably won't. I won't care. And finding the top cleaner woman and then trying to force her cleaning value down my throat will make me hate her. So the model I propose that is better than nuclear family model is a more detached, more independent model, which actually aligns with kind of the concerns women have. Uh, they want to be free fundamentally. If you're in separate households, if you're in separate ecosystems that only exchange to benefit, then yeah, you get to keep your freedom, you get to keep your uh, autonomy, um, but also maybe don't expect the same level of support unless you're offering something worth. Like, I'm not gonna financially fucking support someone who my only exchange is, oh, I just like spending some time with them together. That is not enough for it. Maybe I will support them a little bit that I would think is proportional to that, but realistically, that's not happening. For I don't honestly I don't know, and it's also not my problem to find what it would take for me to want to support someone. But asking for the level of support and trying to force your own value to justify that level of support is never going to work. A long term at least. It might work. You catch someone on a good day and they're just accepting everything, and but 10 years later, how they felt on that day isn't going to matter, and there's going to be a very strong subconscious debt, and you won't be able to resolve that debt because you built your trades in the wrong way. Okay, so to reiterate, finally the point is I don't like the nuclear family model. Uh, I put this because I thought it was funny. I saw it from Sisyphus, or not Sisyphus. Fuck, I don't remember who. I don't really. Socrates, and I just thought it was funny. Uh, I don't want to. All of the things that women want can be achieved in their own isolated ecosystems. Um, you could be a professional in your field. I don't know, like a really good graphic designer or something, like fields that women are generally more dominant in. Uh, and you just don't get to, as long as you're not trying to exploit the person you're exchanging with, you should be able to build long-term trades with people. If you are with this mindset of how do I get the most out of doing the least, even if it works short term, it will always fall flat on its face long term. And you could think, well, then I just enter serial, uh, a series of short but profitable relations. No, this is very short-sighted. This is really stupid because you need to realize that an excess of resources for both parties creates more avenues and leverage for those to compound. What do I mean? For example, let's say I am in a team with someone and I am a programmer and someone's an artist or something, right? And we are making projects together. By doing more projects, my programming skill goes up and their artist skill goes up. the amount they're able to offer and the amount I'm able to offer in exchange for their skills both go up. By building up this relationship and positive exchange, we have like a path by which to do so. And over time, this path will only get wider and more reinforced. We build layers of trust and mutual um, exchange. There's a backlog of profitable changes. Let's say this artist now has, I don't know, bad week or something, or they go, I don't know, somehow their quality goes down a little bit. I will be more tolerant and I will be more understanding or accepting of them because, as a general rule, they have shown their ability to, how should I say, to create a favorable exchange with me. And I will, uh, it will justify more resources from my side. If I see them going down, I'll be more willing to help them because to me, the amount that they have given me is worth for me putting investing into, which is why it's actually kind of the same. I've made, oh my God, I've talked about this a little bit in previous video about society. It's kind of a similar reason why boomers love society so much and we as Gen Z kind of hate society. It's because society has given them more and that has created more goodwill towards society, which uh, allows us to justify putting in more effort into it. So what I mean is entering one of these relationships that is extremely profitable is first of all, you don't need all this overhead in terms of negotiating the deals. You build up communication, you build up your relation. And second of all, there is like a bigger space to there's a more lenience. And in that sense, it's like I don't know. Imagine if we were having an exchange for a really, really long time, and for whatever reason, uh, I don't know, you want out of this or whatever. Like this is something women are really fearful of. Imagine if I was in a marriage with someone for very long, and then suddenly my heart changes, I want to leave, and now they're money trapping me in this marriage. If my exchange with you has been so profitable for this so much time, and I understand that you're no longer willing to continue this exchange, I will probably be more willing to support you for while you are um, restructuring yourself or whatever. Um, I will be more willing to enable you in whatever you're doing. I'll have more goodwill towards you as a person. If all if I had good relations towards you over the time that we have interacted. If over the time that we have interacted, you've constantly been manipulating me and saying, meh, 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 I'm not gonna do this, meh, 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 made my life like misery, and then um, I'm in a position where I could help you, uh, but I don't have to. I'll be like, fuck off, get out of here. Finally, I'm free. Because there's no goodwill there. Goodwill comes from energy profit. It comes from favorable relations, from profitable exchanges. Okay, this we're reaching 2 hours. This is crazy. But I think I've made my point. I will maybe go and elaborate on other points that I've touched on another day. But yeah, ciao. Stay I don't know, stay cool or whatever.